Is Najee Harris worth a first-round fantasy pick?
No.
Rondale Moore or Elijah Moore?
I'm going to go with Elijah Moore.
On this video, we'll give you 5 players you need to draft or avoid in early dynasty and best ball drafts. I'm Alan Seslowsky, here with RotoWire fantasy football writer Jerry Donabedian. Jerry's new article about day 3 of the NFL fallout is linked in the video description below. Jerry, which QB is most likely to be starting week 1 out of Justin Fields, Trey Lance, or Mac Jones?
I got to go with Trey Lance. Although my inclination is that all 3 will be starting by October, regardless of that. But I just think the way the Niners traded up for Trey Lance, I think they're going to either trade Garoppolo or he'll take a pay cut and be the backup. I think the other guys are more likely to have to compete for the job, which isn't to say they won't win.
Who's a better dynasty pick? Is it Jamar Chase, who went 5th overall to the Bengals, or CeeDee Lamb, who presumably is going to still have to battle for targets in Dallas?
That's a good one. They're both such good players. CeeDee Lamb was one of my all-time favorite wide receiver prospects. But I think Jamar Chase on paper is the slightly better prospect. Both are in teams where there's going to be a lot of wide receiver competition for targets, but also a lot of passes. That's really close. But I'm going to go with Jamar Chase. I think he has more potential to be that, type, the next Julio Jones, more potential to be that type of guy.
There's already Michael Carter hype. In best ball, he's already about a 5th or 6th round pick. Should the hype train slow down? Talk to us a little bit about Michael Carter's fantasy outlook for this year and from a dynasty perspective.
Yeah, I get that there's some excitement over his landing spot with the Jets, right? Because you look at, around the league, that was sort of one of the 3 or 4 teams where there really is an opportunity for a mid-round rookie to come in and earn a key role. But I also think, he's going to be competing with Pirine. They've still got Ty Johnson. And I'm not that sold on Carter. So with a backfield like that, especially when I expect the team to be really bad, I don't think there's going to be a lot of touchdowns, right? I don't think they're going to rush for 2,000 yards. I kind of just want the cheaper guys. Give me Pirine in, round 17 or whatever, rather than spending a mid-round pick on Carter. If it was a better offense, sure. But that pass catching role in an offense that might not be able to complete passes, not as exciting to me.
In your article, you talked about Melvin Gordon and James Robinson taking big value hits while everyone is running away from them. Is it a savvy move to move towards them in fantasy drafts?
It could be. I think my initial instinct was kind of stay away, but yeah, we'll see how far they drop. James Robinson is hard right now because I would think other teams would be calling about a trade, right? Because you don't draft a running back in the first round to not make him your lead back, especially a guy like Etienne, who's so athletic, 215 pounds, 4.4 speed, great pass catcher. But yeah, I was surprised by both those. I figured both those teams, the Jaguars and Broncos, would draft running backs. I did not expect it to be as early as it was. Less surprising in the Broncos case. I will say I believe in Robinson as a player, whereas Gordon, I've never been a fan of. I think he's okay. I think he's getting older. So in that case, I'll probably just stay away. But James Robinson is a guy where, depending how things shake out the next few weeks, I could see myself buying into the discount there.
The Steelers defied the analytics community and took a running back, Najee Harris, in round 1. Why do fantasy players think this is bad? And is he still the favorite to lead the NFL in touches?
I would not call him the favorite to lead the NFL in touches, but yet when you look at that Pittsburgh system, James Conner was getting over 20 touches per game at one point. Le'Veon Bell, obviously, but that's, a different caliber of player, although Harris could be that guy to be determined. I just don't think that. I think it's too hard with running backs. The lack of durability, the lack of, even the great ones often only are good for 3 or 4 years. And the fact that teams have been able to find okay players, adequate starters, kind of off the street. I don't think it's really worth the first round pick unless you're talking about Saquon Barkley. So with Harris, I'd say he's a very good prospect, 2nd round pick. But I'd want to see him be a little more agile, more explosive in order to warrant a 1st round pick. But for fantasy, he's going to get the touches. The Steelers have a great defense still. So even if the offense slows down, they'll still score some points.
Is Najee Harris worth a 1st round fantasy pick?
No, not a 1st round fan. I don't think he's worth a 1st round fantasy pick or a 1st round real life pick, but I do think he's worth a 2nd round pick in both cases.
Try RotoWire free. Go to rotowire.com rotowire.com/try.